Took explosive shits that left shit spattered all over the toilet every single day for the month that he was residing in our house. Didn't think to clean it up. What is the most annoying thing a guest has done in your home? My late partner was very sick with leukemia. After over a year of being his 24/7 caregiver, I got the opportunity to go abroad for a work trip. My partner insisted I go because I deserved a break from caregiving and that his deadbeat brother would fill in as caregiver while I was gone. While his brother was staying within our home, he brought his cat, which is a no-no for someone who lives with zero immune system, did the absolute minimum to take care of my partner and left him basically to figure out meds/food on his own. And the final blow was he stole the big piggy bank that we were using to save for his bucket list vacation before he died. Then denied he did it. It makes my blood boil thinking about it. One of my mother's friends is not only a raging alcoholic but is also on a ridiculous amount of prescription drugs. One night she was staying with my parents and fell asleep in a leather recliner because of the aforementioned alcohol and drugs. At some point in the middle of the night, she shit herself, again because of the aforementioned alcohol and drugs, and instead of being a good guest and decent human being and being embarrassed by it and doing her damn best to clean it up, she threw the blanket she was sleeping under over her mess and then went upstairs to sleep in one of the beds. Then she just told my mother about it in the morning and then left. My mother used bleach and every cleaner under the sun to clean up the mess, and she did, but she ended up just throwing the chair out because how could you ever really look at it the same way again? The most shocking detail in this story is that my mother is still friends with this lady. Let their little kid wipe his ass with my guest towels. Instead of, asking where the toilet paper is. A kid whose parents didn't supervise him. He was probably 8 or 9 at the time and would get into anything, especially stuff computer related. He would dig through drawers and open boxes looking for gadgets to play with. Only to fuck them up or lose something. We finally told the parents they couldn't bring him back when he got into the kitchen and turned on the glass top stove while a pizza box was on it. Started a small, quickly extinguished the fire and the house smelled like smoke for about a week. My parents would invite a family over with a boy who was an asshole like that. I got into everything and always destroyed my stuff. Once he even stole a pumpkin from the neighbor's garden and threw it at me. That melon proceeded to slam into my nuts. My best friend wouldn't fucking leave. When I asked her what her going home plans were after 6 days, she said, "I don't plan my life that way." We are 30. An online friend whom I had previously met before informed me that he was visiting my country. I didn't think, at the time, that I could say that we can't meet up even though, shall I say, I wasn't his biggest fan. He rented a hotel room close by and came to visit my tiny apartment one day. Back then my boyfriend and I had a single couch/bed. My friend and I sat on the said couch and exchanged stories, watched videos, played games, whatever. It was getting late. I told him, a number of times, that I and my boyfriend had to sleep soon so he should go. He kept insisting he had to share one more story or video or that we should play one more round of games. My boyfriend was silently fuming in the background. Late at night I eventually put my foot down and said, as I had until then, that we both had work the next day so he had to leave. After he did my boyfriend said we should never ever invite him over again. I was also pissed at this whole incident and decided to put some distance between us but it didn't work since he basically waited for me to show up at the entrance to my apartment building after work. My uncle once reorganized my entire kitchen. It wouldn't have been horrible, aggravating yes, but not horrible, except that he moved the fire extinguisher and didn't tell anyone. So when I accidentally started a small grease fire I couldn't find the extinguisher. And that's how I burned my hands, destroyed my stove, and nearly burned my kitchen down. All because he just had to rearrange my fucking kitchen. I was at work all day and I always closed my door before leaving, always. My mom had guests over and decided, hey, let's show the guests everyone's rooms and all the rooms in the house in general. Well, one lady, whom I had never met, didn't like how I arranged my room, so while everyone was at dinner, I worked from 11:30 a.m. to about 9 p.m., 6 days a week, so I wasn't there when this happened. She went into my room and rearranged my desk, the clothes in my drawers and closet, all my pictures, and threw out some knickknacks that were given to me by old friends but she thought were trash I hadn't thrown out yet. I was pissed. She totally admitted it but didn't seem to feel bad at all. My mom was upset too, but not as much as me. They're no longer friends, but I'm not sure why, probably cause she threw out some of my mum's knickknacks as well. My dad collects fossils and found the lower half of a human jaw. He called the police when he found it, but they told him it was quite old and couldn't do anything with it. In the end, he was allowed to keep it, and the jawbone is on display in his poker room. My mother's cousin stayed with them for a visit, picked it up by each end and pressed them inward, exclaiming, "Oh, is this real?" The piece snapped in half. Dad quietly removed the bits from my cousin's hands and left the room. He put it together with some scotch tape. Took explosive shits that left shit spattered all over the toilet every single day for the month that he was residing in our house. Didn't think to clean it up. This was technically in a dorm room, not a real home, but I had the audacity to wake up my roommate's boyfriend by walking into my room, where he was asleep at 3 in the afternoon, and he immediately launched into a political argument with me. I asked my friends, a couple, to watch my house while I was away. By watch I meant to check in every few days and bring in my mail. They thought I meant stay there, sleep in my bed, make a huge mess, stink up the kitchen with burnt food which they left in the pot for a week, ruining the pot, and, well, I guess that's it. I was most displeased. Invite their own guest to stay with us for 5 days, none of them were invited to stay over. Relatives. My brother pulled this shit once. He was dating this girl, for probably 6 months? Maybe a year. My brother asked if she could stay the night. I was surprised when my parents said okay. My brother was 21 or maybe slightly older at the time, so I guess it wasn't that big a deal. So she stays over. Then never fucking leaves. My parents aren't very confrontational, and she basically lived with us for a month. I think my brother told them near the end, that she had problems at home. Okay, that sucks, but you kind of need to make these sorts of arrangements beforehand. My parents weren't really expecting a month-long live-in guest and feeding her too. She repaid them by stealing food from our pantry because we had lots to spare. My brother is a good kid, but kind of naive at times. He had a friend in high school who seemed nice but definitely had some issues. At one point she'd moved back to the area and was having problems with her boyfriend, and my brother convinced my parents to let her move in with us. We had a spare room, for a while. My parents laid out the house rules: no significant others spending the night, you have to be working or in school, help with chores. Pretty standard fare, and, well, she broke most of them pretty quickly. She had friends over all the time, her on-again/off again abusive boyfriend was over a lot, she was a total slob and, it turned out, a thief. So much stuff went missing while she and her friends were around, the final straw being my grandmother's engagement/wedding ring set that she'd left to our sister. Never saw it again. Thinking of her and her antics still pisses me off. Told me that we get to do what I want since I'm the guest, but whenever I went to her house she'd say we do what I want because I'm the host. By the way, this was when I was very young, like 9 years old or so. My roommate's trashy redneck boyfriend took it upon himself to put a few of my dirty dishes, from that day, all mine thanks, in a huge plastic container so it had about an inch of dirty water in it, along with a shit ton of my clean dishes, smile and place it outside my bedroom door when I was in the middle of moving out because of his miserable presence. Also took out everything he thought might be mine from the cupboards and fridge and put it on the counter for me. How kind. Also tried to disallow me from having guests, expected me to move out alone, okay? And wouldn't let me take the couch I paid half for/pay me back. I ended up having to lock myself in my bedroom with the cops on the phone because he tried to tell me he had the right to go into my bedroom to show potential new roommates, and I knew he was physically abusive to my roommate. He was a despicable human being. On a positive note, I accidentally got ceased on an eviction email from our complex after I was removed from the lease. I hope his sorry ass is homeless. My mother's side of the family can be very inconsiderate. When my sister was getting married some years ago, they stayed with us for the weekend. I knew I had to surrender my room to accommodate them, so I cleaned it, washed my sheets and towels, etc. for them. One day that weekend I came home and went into my room. They were only sleeping in the room, otherwise I was still very much using it during the day, and found all of their very wet, musty, smelly towels bundled into a heap on my bed. I cleaned it up and came back an hour later to find that my cousin stripped the duvet off of the bed and placed it on the floor and put her toddler son to sleep on it on the floor. At my son's first birthday party, my stepmom's mother, who wasn't even invited, made the comment, "Your wife says she isn't materialistic, but you sure have a lot of stuff. We were living in a small 2-bedroom apartment, and my son's room, which had toys and other presents, was also my office and the only storage we had. My aunt used my makeup without asking. While I was present, they, aunts and cousins, all rifled through my closet and vanity and used/wore whatever they pleased. The night of one of the events, while I was doing my hair, I put the blow dryer down temporarily and my cousin gave it to her son because he was asking to play with it. He refused to give it back to me and my cousin told me I need to let him plead with it. They constantly asked me to do things for them and help them get dressed, which made me late, and I missed the photographer, so I have no pics with my sister that night. I was devastated because she and all my other siblings got some wonderful shots that I missed out on. They insulted every outfit I wore, and if they liked it, it was only because one of them had one just like that but nicer. Throughout the weekend, I saw one of them pick my water bottle and drink from it. I walked into my room to find my cousin's husband shirtless and very greasy, passed out on my bed. He hadn't spent the night, so he didn't need to be on the bed, but even still, at least shower before you get on someone's bed. And the icing on the cake, my other sister also had to give up her room. One day she found a strange stain on her sheet. Turns out my cousin changed her son's diaper on her bed without spreading a changing pad, and his shit got on her bed. I had a houseguest turn the toilet paper rolls around to face the other direction. I flipped them back, only to find them backwards again the next day. When my cousin was my roommate, her trashy sad redneck boyfriend would come over and use all of my pots and pans and then leave them for me to clean up after him. One night I got so pissed I dumped the entire sink full of their mess onto her bed and covered it with a blanket. Never again. Decorated the Christmas tree. A bit of backstory: in my family, the Christmas tree isn't just some pretty thing to look at. It's a relic of family history. Every ornament was a gift from a family member or friend. Some of them were generations old. Decorating the tree was something we all did together, and we'd put the ornaments we'd been gifted on the tree. I wanted to pass that on to my daughter. That each ornament was special and meant something. Then, along came my late father-in-law's girlfriend. She was a self-proclaimed authority on everything. From how to properly cook carrots up to how to decorate a Christmas tree. Knowing how she was, I made it clear that we were going to hang the ornaments together after we got back from some last-minute shopping. We got back, and she decorated the tree herself. She stood proudly in front of it, waiting for us to tell her how beautiful it was. Bitch simply didn't listen. A chick I had met online years prior asked to stay. She is from the US. I am in house. She didn't shower the whole time and literally stank up my house, made a mad mess, ate everything. Then when she was leaving, I was baking a cake for someone at work's birthday. She said goodbye and left to go to another chick's house. I discovered later that day she had taken the cake with her. The next house she went to, she didn't shower either. We all met on the same website, and the next victim of her stank was now living in Australia from California, and we regularly hand out still. She ate all their food too, stank twice as bad as a heat wave occurred, and then drank all the alcohol from their house, replacing it with water and tea. They didn't discover this until weeks after she left, as they weren't big drinkers. Wasn't home when this happened, but some family friend I've never met and their kid comes over one afternoon. Kid gets bored and decided it's a great idea to disassemble every Lego build I've kept over the last 10 years. Almost everything was built from imagination, so no instructions to rebuild again. I was devastated when I got home seeing Lego pieces spread across the entire floor of my room. Ate my Go-Gurts I had in the fridge for bad days while I was recovering from a major spinal surgery, encouraged the other guests to join in, hogged the sofa which I needed to sleep on since my back couldn't handle the floor, again, still very much in recovery from a major surgery, refused to give up spot on said sofa, acted offended when I left the room to sleep on another sofa, didn't flush the toilet, almost broke my laptop doing something I told her not to do because it could break my laptop. No matter how much you've missed your friends while spending over a month in recovery, do not invite them over for a sleepover when you're still in a lot of pain. Also, just don't invite a-holes. Thank you for watching Reddit Space. Please subscribe if you love these Reddit stories.